Okay, welcome to Daily Review. It's Adjunct Joe, now a virtual film professor, starting on Thursday. Oh my god, I'm nervous actually. It's gonna be weird. I guess it'll be no different than this, except I'll have to be better, I guess. I'm very easily distracted and I have trouble staying on topic. Like when I'm not in a classroom, I think. Well, we'll see what happens. I'm sure it'll be fine. Um, Anyway, today's movie is. Oh, I got it over here. Hang on. Since we're all quarantined, basically, inside. Not literally. Some places are. Not yet. I decided to finally watch 1900 by Bernardo Bertolucci. It's a massive movie from 1976. It's like 5 hours long. Let me see. It's really long. It's 5 hours. Yeah. And it's cut into two parts. And it stars Robert De Niro and Gerard Depardieu. And that's how they say it down south. Gerard Depardieu. But Sterling Hayden's in it, Burt Lancaster, Donald Sutherland, Dominique Sanda, Ali Daviglia, Vali, sorry, Stephanie Sandarelli. So it's photographed by Vittorio Storano, who did Apocalypse Now and many other amazing movies. I think he did the other one that's like this, Heaven's Gate. And Ennio Morricone did the music. So we got everything we need, to make a nice, big, beautiful movie. And it's basically a historical piece about the 19th century, or the 1900s, I mean, the 20th century. Is that how that goes? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So sorry. Yeah, it's about a history of the politics of Italy from the turn of the century through the end of World War II. And it's about these two boys that grow up together, and maybe the first 2 hours or so, hour and a half, is about them growing up together. One is the son of a landowner, and the other one is a son of the working class that works the land, the farm, the hay seeds or whatever. And then they go off, and they both have military experience, but one's an officer and one's a trooper, on the ground, boots on the ground kind of guy. And that's Gerard Depardieu, and Robert De Niro is more from the wealthier family. So it's about class, and it's about socialism versus fascism. Those are the big broad things, but in actuality, it's just a bunch of things happen, and I mean this in actually in a good way. I know all movies are a bunch of things happening, but only occasionally does it seem like political. Are you like, oh, okay, now this is something where it's either an event, something that would take place, some sort of peasant uprising or some sort of barricading of the roads, or things that would happen that I'm sure are taken from history, maybe not actually happened specifically like this, but I'm sure it's historically accurate in the sense that how people felt, because we know in all cultures when there's a huge disparity between two classes, like the people down on the lower class are going to be, they're not going to be very happy about their status. And then the people on top are like, well, I give you a place to live and I take care of you. You should be happy. The old problem. It's just as relevant now, at the turn of a new century. Okay. Yeah, but basically things just happen, especially in the second half of part one. They just kind of go into, they meet back up as adults, Gerard Depardieu and De Niro, and they're kicking around. and they go into the city, and I think it's Genoa, and like they get a prostitute, and there's a long naked scene with all of them, and they're getting hand jobs, and then I wish I had a hand weep. And then the girl has an epileptic fit, which is reminiscent of Mean Street, and then they each go off and like meet girls that same day that fit them better. Like and then there'll be like an extended lovemaking scene in a barn, in that like literally rolling in the hay. And you're like, in like 30 minutes will have gone by, and they've not said anything specifically political, no like historic events have happened, and they haven't directly talked about the differences but the characters represent, these different, they have lots in common, and many differences as well. It's complicated, and the movie's complicated like that, and so is the acting and the performances and their interaction. What I was trying to say with the other part is that it's a tapestry of moments that it would just be like, it could be very episodic. It's like, this kind of precedes what we see now. Like, this could easily be like a limited series HBO thing, and that would have been, and people would have watched it. Calling it a 5-hour movie means like nobody's gonna watch this movie. It's gonna be so hard to get somebody. But if you broke it up into episodes, I mean, it's in 2 parts, but it's in 2.5-hour parts. It's not like, if they broke it up into 45-minute parts, or like hour max parts, it would probably be more popular. And I mean, I could even see audiences now just be like totally into this. You know what I mean? It's just fascinating how it's just kind of how you package it and how you format it. If you just kind of can figure out a way to give people like smaller chunks, you don't give somebody a whole side of beef, you cut it up and you put it in a burger or whatever. Anyway, yeah, I guess I don't know, there's so many great scenes. One of my favorite scenes at the end of part 1, Donald Sutherland, who is he's part of the fascist movement. He takes a cat, and he's like, this cat is communism. Like, you just feel bad. Like, it represents communism. Look at it. It like tugs at your heartstrings, but it's just a cat. It's like, who gives a shit? And we feel bad, but it doesn't mean anything. He takes the cat, takes his belt off, straps the cat to a pole, and then runs from across the piazza and headbutts the cat to death. I mean, the cat like explodes, and there's blood all over his face, and he starts singing some fascist anthem, and they walk off into like the sunset, not the sunset, but into the Casa de Grande. Yeah, it's amazing. I couldn't help but think the in the early parts they totally Vedi Vedici, that the Fred Armisen skit, and it's really not a Fred Armisen skit. It's what's his name? Barry. Oh my God, his name has lost my mind out of my head. No, not Will Forte. Oh, fucking duck. Bill Hader. It's Bill Hader, and Bobby Moynihan will come. So he's like a talk show host, and then they have like the guest out basically, and he only speaks Italian. That's the joke. And whenever they need help, they just cut away to like Fred Armisen and some other people, and they're just eating pasta, and then they're all smoking tons of cigarettes, and then the kid, De Niro as a kid in this movie, looks like the Bobby Moynihan character, who's like a little sailor boy who's like, and he gets a cigarette, and he's like, tu bene. And he always just gets like slapped around and then cries, and then I don't know, it's amazing. That's a good skit. Look that up. So that was making me laugh a little bit, but yeah, it's really good, and it's kind of like odd, and Bertolucci always gets into like the sexual. There's always like a sexual oozingness of it, which is not in movies that are of a similar ilk. As much, in my opinion. Like Barry Lyndon is very like stagnant, and I like that movie, but I don't know. I can't believe I've gone this long without having seen it. Every scene is just like, oh yeah, that's pretty amazing, and then it goes on to another scene, and you watch it, and you go, oh, yeah, that's pretty amazing, and then like 2 hours later, you're like, I see what's going on here, sort of. They're painting a picture. Anyway, okay. So I ended up going back and watching the end of Raw Deal to see that I wanted to make sure I didn't miss out on that final scene, which I couldn't remember. So I must have fallen asleep, or I just stopped the movie. I mean, I don't want to lie to you. I stopped it. So I go back to, you remember, he drops her off at the airport. And then he just goes into his closet, and there's like a 15-minute scene of him getting guns out of like a suit bag, like a bag you put a suit in. He unzips it, all these guns, loading up like a Batman, like all that for like 10 minutes or whatever. Then he gets in his car, which is a convertible, and he smashes the windshield out, and then he drives to the gravel pit of Petrovitos or whatever, and he just drives around while playing Satisfaction, parentheticals I can't get now, by the Rolling Stones, and just fucking shooting people with assault rifles from 200 yards away, and it's just stunt guys, forward flipping off of gravel equipment and into pits. And one guy gets knocked into like a boulder crusher, but it's like clearly, it's amazing how long they hold on the shot, even though it's a dummy. It's just like, oh fuck, dude. Yeah, if you had just flipped on the movie to that point based on Stallone's appearance, and he's got his hair slicked back, and just kind of just the way he looks like a villain. You would be like, oh, this is the bad guy. Look at these poor gravel workers. You would want them to win. He's so menacing. It's just a bad role for him. The wrong role for him. Because he can be super charismatic and stuff, but in this, he's just like, I'm from Austria. And then the last guy, the guy who had set him up or whatever in the FBI, who had given him the ultimatum. What was the ultimatum that he gave him? Resign or be prosecuted. And so he does the same thing and gives him a gun. And then commits suicide basically, and the guy's like, "Dah!" and gets up and goes to shoot Arnie, and Arnold takes out the biggest gun ever and is like, and I think he says something like "Raw Deal" or something. Anyway, that's the end of Raw Deal, and basically the beginning of 1900, or as they call it in Italian, I do know Italian, but and that was all gibberish. Although I did say Centonove, which is 900. So I wonder what it's called. I mean, how do I say this in Italian? I should know this. That's embarrassing. It's not like I took it for 6 years and lived there for 4 months. Okay, ciao.
just a man.